questions which were asked last class. If you know, please raise your hand so that I can just come to you. First question was, when you apply CSS, what is the default positioning system it takes care of? What is the default positioning system? Who said? Who said? Correct. It's static. There are three positioning systems: static, relative, absolute. So default is static, and static it only works according to the DOM approach. If you write an HTML page, so HTML page has an hierarchy, right? So that is a static approach that CSS is applied. I want to violate it, I want to override it, I want an image which comes at the bottom, but I want at the right topmost. Then you have two positioning systems, relative and absolute. Now, last class, something called as margin. So what is a positioning system for margin? What is the default positioning system for margin? Is it relative or is it absolute? Of course, it is not static. Yes? What is relative, by the way? Relative is always with respect to the browser's border. From browser, it tries to calculate its distance. If it is 20 px or 30 px, px stands for pixel. And absolute is a position within that block. If there is a text, and from that text block, how much position you want to center that text within. So padding comes into absolute positioning system. I hope you got this. Question number 2 was, why do we write link tag in head section? Can't we write in body section? That was my second question last class. Anyone? Yes, raise your hand so that I can come up. Yesterday we saw, or day before yesterday we saw if we want to call an external CSS, we use a link tag. And that link tag we added in head section. Why not in the body? Pardon? For easier access? Yes, you're almost there. Anyone else? Very good. It's a property of a rendering engine. When a website is loaded, it renders only once. So when it is trying to render first HTML, then follow up with the CSS. Please don't write CSS external files in body section. You can use JavaScript there, but not link. When we cover JavaScript, we'll see that. Okay? And there was third question which I asked. I'll cover that after our session because the answer will be there in today's session. Okay, if you remember the third question, recollect.
Now what takes the topmost precision? Inline, very good. So inline takes the precision. So when do I usually go for inline? Can I go for inline every time I want to work with CSS? No, very good. So when do I go for inline? When very specific, when it's actually it is when you have an emergency situation. The CEO calls and says that my picture in the website, I don't want it to have the same boundary as everybody else in the department or in the organization. He wants a special boundary around his image. image. So you don't want to use the regular class, or you don't want to make too many changes, but you want to just make one change to the CEO's image, right? So how do you do that? You add that as a style, inline style, right? Along with that particular IMG tag. Huh? Okay, so we have seen all that HTML, CSS. Now let's again, you will have this is your regular subject as part of your academia, but then this is an EPS session, so we'll go a little fast. I'll cover what is important for your project and what I think are important as a software engineer to know about web development. In the sense, when you're facing the interviewers, what they're going to ask, what kind of questions, and when you're working on a project, what are the main things that you're supposed to know. Done? Now let's move on. In the last class, I talked about CSS. I showed you everything was hands-on, right? So now let's look at a PPT so that stays concrete with you. So where do we get these old-fashioned websites from? If you want to look at it, anybody remembers the site? Webarchive.org. So we can get there. So this is a very old. Which website? MSN websites. This is how Microsoft Network's website used to look like in the initial days. So now what is lagging? What does it lack? What's lacking in it? Olden days McDonald's. Current this. How? What made this possible? CSS, styling, adding some color, making it look prettier, right? You would get more people visit your site if it looks like this than if it looks like that, right? So CSS came into existence to make the site look a little better. What are those? First, second, third. Like I told you, inline, internal, external. Now who created it? Who came up with the whole idea of let's add a different language to the main HTML page? Anybody wants to pronounce that? Yeah, people who understand Norwegian can speak, I think, can say that. In any case, that's Mr. Hagen BMD. He's a Norwegian web pioneer in 1994. So along with HTML, CSS also grew together. They both grew together. Now, who's this guy again? He was working with Tim Berners-Lee. Anybody remembers Tim Berners-Lee? The picture we showed in the initial classes? Who's he? He's a main person at CERN. It's a European organization for nuclear research. This is called a CSS rule. Remember everybody? I have seen many times when I ask somebody about how do you write a CSS style or CSS rule, I have noticed that they say, ma'am, we write first HTML, we write the element, then a curly bracket, then we write what we want. That is a language that anybody else can speak. You are computer science engineers, you need to use a proper language, even when you're talking to the interviewer, even when you're talking to your friends and anybody else. So what is the language that you say? So the block is called a declaration block, right? Across all languages, anything that has a curly bracket open and close is a block, right? So this one here is called a declaration block. So you have the selector, then the declaration block, property and value, property and value. Done? Now each property and value set is separated with the other with what? Very good, semicolon. So we done. So now that we have the hands-on, it's easy to understand. Now this is the inline style that I was talking about, and I told you about how it takes the precedence over the others. Now this is the internal style. Now is this how we wrote the style tag when we wrote HTML? Right? Browsers earlier. A browser is also a piece of software. They keep evolving, right? Software keeps evolving, there's version after version coming. So in the initial days, you had to mention that even though you mention it as style tag, you have to mention type is equals to text/CSS. Take the text and understand it as CSS and attach it to the HTML sheet. Nowadays browsers are smart, we don't have to mention style. Right? Now let's move forward. Need for CSS. You all must be thinking, ma'am, we are good. We have inline, internal, external. But what is the big deal? I'll write style in the same place, and I'll just have a style tag and work on it. What is the advantage of having style as a separate CSS file? Any thoughts, anybody? What is the main advantage of separating the style out into a different file? Huh? Can share it? Very good. The current generation is sharing. So you want to share your style with your friends? You have a separate. Say, you know what? This is my color combination, and these are all the font styles that I've used. The other important thing. Ease of access, okay. So when you're working in a company, will you be working alone or will you be working with a team? The team, right? So there must be one person who's really good with whatever side of the brain that is, the creative part, left or right? It's say left. So if somebody is a creative person in your team, that person will be taking care of your CSS. So you would want that person to have complete access to the CSS file without having to worry about the structure, right? So that is where you want to separate out. See this one? It's not along with the, along with the HTML, but there is difference. You see the difference? So that is there. So that is the reason for that. Now, style sheet language is used for describing the presentation. We know that. Going a little fast because we have gone through all this hands-on activity. It's just the PPT. So I'll go a little fast. I'll share the PPT after the session. Then, do we know the priority? Do we know the priority? Whatever is closer gets it. And then what? Proximity also. And then what? ID takes the precision. So that is most important, right? Class, ID, element. The rule again, font family, and you mentioned. Do we all know why we have multiple font families? In one font family, why do you mention Arial and then Helvetica and then sans serif and all? One isn't there in the browser or in that particular system. We'll pick the second one. So we have the color, font size, then we have the selectors. You see that the element, class, element ID and class in that order. Same stuff. Now look at the selectors please. Again everybody, each of these things that we are learning in Mon are a ocean in themselves, right? Meaning Mongo, Express, React, Node, HTML, CSS. So I don't want, we are giving you taste of each of these. It's up to you which area you pick. But then styling, I say, don't go too much into styling because we are going to understand easier ways of working with style. Okay? Now here, but then you also need to know what it is, right? So you see the div and paragraph tag is a descendant selector. Div and greater than P is a child selector. Yeah? Grandchild is a your great grandchild or grandchild would be your descendant. Child is your direct, your own. So if you want to specify, remember we are talking about big websites. If you want to specify that for a child, meaning if there is a paragraph inside a div, directly under the div, then apply this style. But any paragraph inside any level of div, apply that style. Okay? Understand please. And like I said, maintain a notepad or a pen and have a pen and book ready and make notes whenever you think you need to look it up. Colors and all, we talked about background color, the property. You want to repeat a background, what do you do? Again, the shortcut background. You see the last one, the shorthand property. So what other property or CSS rule has a shorthand? Border. Good. So we have border where you can give the shortcut also. What is a shorthand or a shortcut property? You mention all three in the same line. The color, the style, and if it requires thickness or something, that one. Here you see background, that is a color and that is a URL. You can have a tree as a background. Do you want to repeat it? No. So no repeat. Where do you want it on the right side? Where on the right side? Down. Understood? So that is how you work with shorthand properties. Now we looked at border the other day. Told you about how there are different styles, different ways of having border, style property. But remember, there is an order, right? Browser also requires a way for you to write it, for it to understand and render it, right? So you have to mention the style, you have to mention the width, and then that is how the shorthand looks like, right? And if you want different borders on different sides, you can mention border hyphen top like that. That is the example. Now, how many of you looked at the link that I sent? CSS box model. Can I have some hands shown? Raise your hands, all those who looked at the CSS box model. Understood? Looked at it, didn't get a chance. I sent it this morning. I thought whoever is commuting might go through it. Alright, anyway, we have discussed it. So, if I take the box model of CSS and if we compare it with an independent house, what would be your parapet wall?
Border.
One answer. What would be the compound wall?
Border.
Border says your friend. Now what would be margin?
Outside.
Between two houses, whatever that is your margin. What would be padding?
Outside.
Between the content and the nearest parameter, right? Or the parameter. That is called as the CSS box model. So the interviewer asks you or somebody asks you to explain the CSS box model, you go like that. Tell what it is, how you can manage, how you set the radius, how do you set the border radius if you wish to, how you have the border margin and everything. Yeah? Then margin again has top, right, bottom, like border you can mention different, right, on different sides. Like that margin also can be done. There are shortcuts for it too. We'll see.
Yeah, Shirish, I have two questions here. Now, can you go to the previous slide? Teacher was talking about box model. Where do you see this model?
When we inspect.
Have you saw? So why it is useful? What's the use of it?
Someone say.
Yeah, to understand the positioning system, correct. Shirisha, can you just go to the previous three slides?
Which ones?
The selectors. Yes. Can you zoom a little bit? So you see there is a space and there is an angular bracket. You see that? Why? What does that mean? Both have same. We have div and b. There is a space between, and whereas in the second there is an angular bracket. What does that mean actually? Anyone? Because we covered the slide and nobody asked the question. It is assumed that everyone knows it. Yes, anyone? What is the difference between that and why do we use it? In Bootstrap, you're going to use this, the space. Okay, I'll give you time, end of the class, we'll discuss again. Please observe. If you don't understand, raise your hand. We are here to help you out. Okay?
You are free to work along with me, but I suggest you look at what I'm doing and then later on when I give you a few minutes of time, then you work on it. So, able to see that? Day 7. This is my today's session. So everybody please create day 7 folder. Inside that folder, create the file that you want to create. Give it any name that you wish to. Remember, this is not for the exercise, this is for our own practice here. Right? So, before we go ahead, I want to show you a website, but I'll show that after this one. Okay? What am I talking about? I'll just name it as misc.html because it's miscellaneous stuff. The disclaimer. Show this one existing. All right, everybody. We'll go to Bootstrap, but then just before that, there was this important thing that Srikanth sir had asked you about how to float things and what is this display, right? You see this website? Welcome to my website. It's pre-created. I'm not asking you to create this, okay? It's pre-created. There's something that I want you to see. One of the very important advantages of using Chrome or any browser, or for you also as a developer, is not just about creating, but also knowing how to use different tools, right? So here it is. So every time your boss asks you to change something or add something, you don't go to the HTML page and make the change there and check, right? So what you do is you go to the right-click inspect, go to elements and change. I want to see how just welcome looks like. There. So you modify. This does not change your file, but this changes and you can actually check to see how the text looks like and all. So what did I do again? I went there and double clicked on it and changed. Done. Now the next thing, important thing that I would like to show is the style. This is an H1, right? This has a particular style. Then this is H3. On the right side, everybody, I want you to look at this part. This is very important. The style tab. So you select whichever you want to select. On the right side, you go and check. So you can change its appearance here also, meaning you can go here and you can edit it. So if I want to increase the font size, I'll click here, go and use the up arrow. I'm not able to show it, please try it on your side. Okay, I don't want to put too much time and but basically what I'm trying is please explore this one. You'll see it on the right side. You select the element, go there and modify the font. See, this is font family area, right, overall. If I uncheck it, you see that? The font, this has changed. If I check it again, it picks up. So if it's font styles and things like that, you can check, uncheck. If you want to go for another one, you can go here. See, I'll remove the whole thing. My boss says, SIREESHA, why don't you check and tell me how sans serif or one of those things looks like? So I go for that and I check. And if I remove it, what happens? If I add it, what happens? So like that, you can modify many things, guys. So basically what I'm trying to get at is, as you're all developers, you need to know how to modify or check your page before you actually make the change in your source file. Right? So you can do all that here. One last thing. You see this aside, it's a semantic tag. Meaning it was named aside, but it has nothing special. You have to set a style to it. Okay? Now look at this carefully. For this aside, it says float left. Srikanth sir was talking about it. Let's see what happens if I uncheck it. What happened? It went to the right. Now, see, aside is nothing but this one here, guys. This links one. So if I pick the right, it also shows me what are the properties that I can set. I do that, it comes there, right? So like that, you see this one aside, it is display block, right? I can edit this display and say inline. Everyone, we do not have the kind of time that we would want to explain the whole thing. But please understand what is float, experiment a little with that, and what is, how do, like sir mentioned, the display part, right? Now display aside is there, right? Now let me show you another display, something that I'm going to ask you during JavaScript sessions. So this one, I don't know why it doesn't. Outside here. Let me show you from here. Right? This is my HTML page. You see, I have all the styles here. For the aside element, I want to say here, oh, it is not there. So display, I'll say none. Okay? And where is the aside? It's not there. So display, float, right? So very important things. Please make a note of it and learn. I had a few exercises. I'll see if I can share them in the WhatsApp, so you can just look at it and see what it is. Change the display property. So this is very important because many times you want to show and hide. Okay, there's a form for both NJIT and KMIT students that you're supposed to fill. But then for KMIT students, you have extra fields. You want to hide that whole div based on what college they pick. So if they pick NJIT, you want that whole thing to be gone. How do you do that? Do you regenerate the HTML file? Do you remove all the tags? What do you do? So on change of that, display none for that whole div. So the div disappears. Understood? Display, float are very, very important concepts or important features, please. Other thing is, we'll look at that later. Let's move on. I don't want to put too much time into this because then, like Srikanth sir said, we will not have enough time for exercise. Okay? So there we go. Now, the last session, I told about responsiveness. Anybody remembers what responsive website is? What is a responsive website? What is a responsive website? Very important question. How do you make a website responsive, or what is a responsive website? Based on the size, based on the device in which your web page or website is launched, the page aligns itself in that way. Everybody? One of the very important, interesting questions. You put a project, say you have worked on a web dev project, the interviewer is going to ask you, is it responsive? If you have a blank face, then that is a big. So if you do not even know how to make a website responsive, or if you do not even know what the word responsive means, then you are not considered a web dev person. Okay, so you need to know. So how did we make it in olden days? During our time, there's something called as VW. So we wrote JavaScript code inside an HTML page, and we got the size of the device. The moment page loaded, we would get the size of the. We would write code on page load. You would write code to get the device size. Oh, if the device size is this, we had a variable. Right? Now, how many of you here have worked on taking a small piece of art and making it big? You must have done that, right? So how do you do that? You make a grid out of it. Right? So in a smaller screen, if it is taking this much, in the bigger screen it should take times 4. See that? That 4 is your variable. So all this logic is built into the library. Which library? Bootstrap. It's built into that. So there are many libraries like that. So responsiveness is basically adjusting that screen size based on where it is launched. Right? Now let's move on. Dictionary meaning, reacting quickly and positively. HTML, CSS, to automatically resize. See that please, hide also. You don't want to show certain things in web, or you don't want to show certain things in mobile. Those things, right? You do not want to show a link to install it as an app when you're already launching it from phone, right? The person is okay with launching it from phone. Sometimes you want, sometimes you don't. Things like that, that's just an example. You can have different things based on where it is launched. So you can show, hide stuff. Now, that is that. Do you see on the right side? I know this is a little, but I think you need to understand. If you focus there, I could ask you, but I'm telling you directly. The first screen, the desktop screen has a blue at the top left, here to here. The desktop screen has an orange band in the center. On tab and mobile, you see the same screen, right? But what about the last row? How is it displayed? In the desktop, it is displayed how? One next to other. But how about in the phone? One below the other. This is called responsive. So it's automatically adjusting itself. Let's move on. Now people think responsive website means you are able to see the text. No. You see, left is responsive, right is not. You can't even read the text properly. Right? So they did not use proper libraries. So what are the libraries? These are all the libraries that are available. Semantic UI, Foundation, Bootstrap, Material, many things. And what are we picking? Bootstrap, very good. Bootstrap, it's a free and open source. Contains CSS and JavaScript like I showed you. Another thing guys, when you submitted the exercise last time, most of you forgot to close the link tag with a forward slash. Forward and thread tag, that's how you close the link. For a script, you need to have a close script tag, separate close tag. But link is an empty tag, so you just have forward, like image tag. Script is a proper tag where you have a start and you have an end tag. Okay? So remember that? You have seen this already. It has both JavaScript and CSS. Why Bootstrap? I told you, responsive web design, the grid system. You'll see what I mean by that. Speed of development. You will see in a few minutes how fast you can create a simple web page and go with it. History, I told you, it was developed where? Twitter. So X, they developed it and they said, you know what, go ahead and use it for free. Where do we get it from? Getbootstrap.com. Right? Now, there's an interesting word. I'd like you to all make a note of it. What is mobile first? What does it mean? When you design a website, when we design something for you, right? Let's say we are designing an application where you can join different clubs or club activities. Right? We don't want that to be we don't want to start thinking of the design as a website. We know you'll be opening it up in your phones, most definitely, joining a club or seeing club activities. So our thought process is in terms of looking at it as a mobile website, mobile-based website or website that will be launched on mobile. So Bootstrap was built keeping that in mind. So it is called as mobile-first design. So design assumes that you are creating it for a mobile phone and then the rest is please. Okay. CDN link. Did we add it last time? How did we add Bootstrap to our HTML page, please? Not in the exercise. Copy pasted it from getbootstrap.com. We got that. I said that's a CDN link. And I said that CDN link is very interesting. Right? What is so interesting about it? You see that href? That is where you will get it. The website from where you get it. Okay. The second is REL, means relationship. What is it? The relationship of this file. Now third is integrity, that I said I'll tell you in today's class. It's an important thing. I'll spare 1 minute for that. Where am I getting this link from, please? Or this file from? Bootstrap.com gave me the link, but from where am I getting my, where is that file? Bootstrap.min.css. It is at that website, cdn.jsdeliver.net. Understood? Everybody, throughout the world, there are so many websites that need some common set of resources or libraries. What they have done is they have put it in different locations around the globe. One in Atlanta, one in Alaska, one in Australia, so that people who are accessing do not have to wait for it to go all the way to Alaska and get it. So there's one in Asia, in AWS also there are different regions, Amazon also. Right? You understand? You order something online, go for a big basket, they're not going to somewhere in Gachibowli or somewhere. They're all centers, right? For food delivery also. Similarly, or for, regular stuff. Similarly, our libraries that we use also, there are servers everywhere. JS Deliver is one of those, content delivery networks that is throughout the globe. Okay, so they have all these libraries. So when I ask it to get, it's going to go to the nearest server, maybe Bombay, maybe, Singapore. It's going to go there and get it from me. Even though it is internet, you must be thinking, what's a big deal? It's internet, right? But still, split second longer will take a lot of time for each of the libraries. So the link, that CDN means Content Delivery Network, right? So that is one. Now these things are not explained in your regular W3 schools or wherever, right? Whatever site you are going. That's why I'm trying to put a little more focus. Next is relationship, the integrity part. Let me give you a quick example. My mom keeps sending me food, right? Little personal stuff. Every other week or so, she sends something that she makes in. How does she send it? She uses Swiggy Genie, right? But how does she make sure that I got it intact? How does she make sure that it's not tampered with? She'll call me and say, did you get it? I say, yeah, I got it. She says, are there 2 knots on the first cover and then is it in the back cover and then is it in the big bag? Or do you see only 1 knot? If it's 1 knot, the guy took it or opened and had something. So that is her way of encrypting or decrypting, or that's how it works for us. Similarly, there's an algorithm, SHA algorithm, that does it for us. So you see SHA-384, that whole thing. So the content delivery network did that and gave it to me. So when I try to access it, it's going to compare. Is the user, is it coming from the right source? And then only it will give the file. Right? You must be thinking, what's the big deal? It's only a file. Then, this is a discipline kind of a thing that people follow, the delivery network follows. Okay? Now you must be thinking, will it not work if I do not put integrity? It will work. If you do not use that integrity at all, if you just say link, right, and href, it will work, not a problem. As long as there is an href and a rel, it will work fine. But this is the ideal way of working. We are teaching you the best practices, right? So if somebody asks you how it works and what it is, you should be able to tell. Every piece of code in your HTML page, you must know. And you do not have, there's no dearth of information, right? You can always go to GPT and ask, can you tell me what this integrity is? Can you tell me what shadow is? So you can always ask questions and get it, right? Cross-origin, anonymous meaning, I'm not sending any cookies, I'm not doing anything. It's a simple one. Anonymous, I'm fine. We are not exchanging any information, right? So that is that about that. Again, like I said, I could continue for another 5 minutes about this. But did you all get an idea? Can you all raise your hand if you understood what this link means and why? How many of you got it? Understood? People at the far end, if you do not, please move front and try to understand. Right? You'll understand better if you are in the front seats. So that is about the link tag.
Yeah. Shirish, I have a question again. Whatever questions I ask, you should ask or you should know. And this is interview question. I've seen code, let us say HTML or CSS. I accidentally forgot to close a HTML tag. Okay? How do I check the error? If you see C program or Python, your compiler will throw an error saying line number this does not have semicolon or closing bracket closer to it. How do you check an error for a CSS applet, particularly take what HTML itself? You have written 5,000 lines of code and you forget a div tag, closing div tag. Now, how do you check an error?
Inspect console.
If your answer is I'll go to inspect and check console, that is wrong, because console will only show errors which you get in JavaScript, not in HTML, not in CSS. You will not get undesirable output because your browsers are smart enough to shout at you, you made a mistake, I'll correct it. Of course, you will get undesirable output, but how? Which line you will see and close the tag? What? How do you check the error, first of all? How many of you know the answer? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir, I know how do I check an error in CSS or HTML if I write a mistake. No one knows? No, shall I tell the answer or you want to explore? Okay, I'll tell the answer. This property is called as validation because HTML is markup language. Markup language does not have compilers, they have validators. You copy your code or use a validator and check. This validator technique is used for HTML, checking errors in HTML, checking errors in CSS, checking errors in JSON. We'll learn JSON in the next coming sessions. We'll see that. We'll see that also. I'll request SIREESHA to show in the next coming session how do you check errors using validators. Got it? Please ask no from basics. Yeah, SIREESHA.
Okay. Everyone, so I've created a standard boot1.html file. I have my link and script tags that I got from getbootstrap.com. And then, as you can see, this is the link. It needs to be closed. It's okay if it is not, but make sure it is closed. Then there is a separate end tag, script tag, right? Now, this is my Bootstrap. Now, let's try to understand Bootstrap and see how it is helpful, right? Here. So, there's a BTN and there's a space and one more. So, what are these two? This and this space separated classes, right? You can add multiple classes. The way Bootstrap understands, remember everyone, somebody has written a style sheet along with a JavaScript code and they have given it to us to use. In this style sheet, if you go and look up, you will see what BTN is. If you do a dot BTN, you will see what BTN is. And if you do dot BTN hyphen primary, you'll see. We looked at, in the last class, we looked at all the contextual colors, primary, secondary, info, warning, danger and all. So we could use all that. So this is a basic simple one. Let me go here and do a refresh. You see the rounded corners and all and the font style. Clearly, Bootstrap has been applied to this one. Now let me open this in the browser. Okay, looks good. We are all set. Now let me go and show you the one that I was talking about. So I'm going to, in the HTML part, I'm going to remove a little and add my own text. Okay? You see that? I'm connected to internet. Am I? Not really, but it's not in the cache of the browser. Okay, CACHE. So make sure, so this is the encryption methodology that I was talking about. Now, if I did not have the integrity part, it would have been different. But then, if I have the integrity and if this one is meddled with, then you will not get it working properly, right? Now, let me go ahead and show you what I'm talking about when I say Bootstrap. Let me get rid of the whole thing. Okay. So if I have CDN links, internet is a must, right? But in your exercise, we put the files therein because they are there along with your HTML file, right? Can't connect to this network, it says. Let me connect to test. I'm told test should work. Let me see. All right. So here we are, right? I want to go to, let me take you directly to the easier way. I need everybody to look at the screen, please. Please go to getbootstrap.com, right? Click on docs, or you can directly search here, Navbar. Go to getbootstrap.com, type in the search bar, type Navbar, see how it works. It will take you to that. Okay, it's a whole lot of documentation. So I could go with one class for the whole navbar only, but let me just copy it over. It's not worth that much time, right? So what did I do? I clicked on this clipboard icon and I copied this text. What is this text again? It's a nav. It's starting with a nav. That. So the whole of nav bar. Now let us see what happens. Again, kindly focus. Look at the screen. In the body tag, I'm pasting the nav bar. Whatever I copied from there, I did a Control V here. And what do I see? I have zoomed in there. I got a simple nav bar. I just copied that text there, pasted it here, and I got a simple template for a nav bar. As you can see, it also gives me an option of how a disabled link might look like. A drop down, an active page, and an active link and an inactive link, meaning I'm in this current home page, that's why home is active. These are the other ones. So everybody, Bootstrap, the folks at Bootstrap have given us a whole list of components that we can use. We don't have to type up all the text. So all those thousands of lines of code that you see in some websites, nobody sat and typed them all up. They used a pre-existing code, got it and added it here. So here I have added that, right? Now let's try to understand, right? What is in it? Basically, a semantic nav tag, right? Class, whatever is in class is nothing but CSS. So this is Bootstrap CSS. The library has written all that. Remember how if you import a library, either in Python or in JavaScript, you have many methods inside it that you can use, classes and methods. Like that here, these are all the classes that are available. We'll come to container fluid in a moment. And then there is a button, right? It says toggle. There is a nav bar here. Item, it says UL, unordered list. But when you look at it, there is no list as such, right? Again, that has been changed using styling. I'll show in detail, but for now, can you all simply copy that in your page and tell me if it is working for you? Okay, hold on 1 second, please. This is one, right? Everybody, 1 minute to the screen, real quick. This is very important. So I have my nav bar. I'll go to my nav bar here. Okay, and let me try something. I'll say bg-info. See that? I say bg-warning. You see what I'm talking about? I can go ahead and change it. Now here I go to my nav bar. Where is my nav bar? Here, right? Right here itself. I'll say edit. Okay. I'll remove here. Here itself I'm able to do info and I go tab, change. This is what I was talking about. Know how to change it. bg-danger. There. So, I did not pick it. bg-danger and click elsewhere. You see that? So, the contextual colors are really fun. There, that's the orange one. Warning is orange. So, what I want to show next is, look at the screen please. Everybody, look at the screen. You see this one here? Toggle device toolbar. Hover your mouse over the second icon. The first one is for you to check. So when you click on this arrow, go to your page, it will show you where it is. You see at the bottom, I want to check so it can go. The second one is one of the very important things that you will be using very often. What is that? This one, toggle device. In olden days when we were working, we would actually take the window and then resize it to see how it displays in different screens. What about in Mac, which bigger screens? We didn't have smartphones then, right? So we would put the Mac's configuration and then check. What about if it was displayed in 800 by 600 monitors? You know those big monitors? Have you seen an old monitor? Not the flat screen ones? So we would actually resize the screen. But look at this one here. I want to see how it looks like in iPhone SE. This is how it looks like, my page in iPhone SE. I want to see how it looks like in Samsung. Samsung Galaxy S8. Remember to change this to 100%. That is how it looks like in Samsung Galaxy. I want to see how it looks like in a tab or an iPad mini. iPad mini has a different resolution, right guys? You see the width now? Make sure this is 100%. Everybody, people at the last, please focus. Make sure this one here is 100%. And then you can toggle between devices here using this drop down, right? And let's go and check in iPhone SE, right? 100%. This is how it looks like. You want to turn and see in the landscape mode, you click this one to rotate. There. Okay? Back. Are we all clear? So if I go to iPad mini and say 100%, this is how it's going to look like. Even if I rotate my iPad, go for 100%, that's how it's going to look like. See that? Now let me go to iPhone SE. So if the interviewer asks you, how do you check the responsiveness of your website? You don't say that I'll share the link with my friend, or I'll deploy it on one of the things and then open it up in my phone. Please don't do all that. See, I go to toggle device in my web dev tools, click on that and pick whatever device I want to check for, and I'll go check there and see. Understood everybody? Now what is the difference between this screen and the one that I showed you earlier? Does the navbar look the same? No. So why? Because Bootstrap automatically, the libraries of Bootstrap have automatically understood that you have launched it in a phone, and they change the navbar to a collapsible one, or this one. What is this one here called? We don't eat it here, not many, but then it's called a hamburger icon because it looks like a burger, right? So this is called a hamburger. So how is it understanding all this? It is understanding all. Now many people do not know how to get back to regular screen. Click on the same icon and you'll come back to regular. In regular screens, it shows like that. In smaller screens, it shows like this, right? So where is all that logic and brains and everything coming from? This whole thing, right? You see that? This is the button, navbar toggler. Type is what? Button. What are you supposed to do when I click on that button? You're supposed to expand and collapse. You meaning the browser. Everybody understand this line at line 16 that I'm showing? Very important. The hamburger icon is this button. Type is button, means it is clickable. Next is what? Data-bs-toggle. What is this button supposed to do? It's supposed to open and close, toggle, collapse it. Now what is it supposed to show on opening and closing? This one, the target. A little tricky to understand, but try to understand, try to work on it a little bit. So you're mentioning that it's a button which expands and collapses something. And what is it supposed to expand and collapse? This one, navbar supported content. Now where is that? This whole div. What does that whole div have? That whole div has the complete list of these things. Okay? So I will stop the navbar part here.
I have a question here. Now this is important. What is nav tag doing here? Is this relevant? Very good. You can have div tag also. You will get the same thing. Very good. So nav tag is not important. But what is important to make a navbar a navbar? If I don't use it, if there is no navbar at all, what is that? I'm talking about the Bootstrap class because you're learning Bootstrap here. So there is one Bootstrap class which makes this as a navbar. Now, links are your aesthetics. That is, if you want links, you use it. If you want search bar, that is your thing. I'm talking about the navbar property. Anyone? Already, madam, discussed that. It's Simple. There is something called as Navbar, a class named as Navbar. If you remove that, khatam, this is not Navbar. It's simple div tag with the text. You can just see. So you can just remove that. Navbar expand and Navbar run. If you remove those two lines, then save and see the output. It's simple div with the text. There is no Navbar anymore. When you just add navbar there, just write navbar, you don't need to expand also. That is the size. Now it becomes a navbar. Got it? That's important to understand.
So everybody, so we all understand Bootstrap is nothing but a bunch of classes, right? You just add a class and then it picks up that class and adds a style. Next is the one that we have seen now, the JavaScript part, where the interactivity part is also taken care of. Now sir told me to remove, so I removed it. So this class is removed, expand-lg. What does it mean? We're going to go to that, what is LG and what is MD and all that. But basically, did you notice when I removed that, in a regular website also it's showing me the hamburger icon. So now browser does not know when it is supposed to show the expanded form, right? So I add it and I'm saying larger screens and above show expanded, in smaller screens show the hamburger. You see that? So you see all those websites where by default they are not showing the navbar, it's only the hamburger. This is what they have done. They did not add this part. Done? So like we have contextual colors, there is also behavior and how it should appear in what screens that we have to add. Okay? Now let me give you 2 minutes and I'd like you all to add a navbar to one file and check, see how it is working. Now please don't take too long. By default there is 3 minutes, done that. Again I have collapsed it, please, it's not this small. So you're supposed to get the code from getbootstrap.com, copy the code and put it inside the body tag and check if it is working. Very, very simple stuff. What's it?
Form, like text.
I'll
Text
show.
form and convert into
What I have done, no sir.
form, checkbox.
So what I have done is, you see, this is in class. Can I have your attention? We are going to have your digital profile or the portfolio page as the exercise. I repeat, your exercise today is going to be your portfolio page, but with a navbar. Clear? So bring that portfolio to today's session, create a new folder called exercise. Okay, exercise for in today's session. Inside that, copy over your portfolio page, right? And add navbar. Do you remember how you added Bootstrap in your last exercise? CSS/. We have to do the exact same thing this time also. CSS and JS. You don't add CDN links in your exercise. Let me repeat. First and foremost, you have to copy over your portfolio page here. First thing. Where? Into the exercise folder. Second thing, do not add CDN links. Add CSS and JS folders and add those files later, right? Because this is an exercise. Third thing, add the navbar code that you just tried to your portfolio page at the top. Done? Does anybody want me to repeat the exercise today? One more time? Yeah? Create an exercise folder. Inside that exercise folder, copy over your CSS and JS folders from last exercise. Okay? Create an exercise folder. Shall I type it up for you? So we can start that exercise, because after this exercise we have another important one that we'd like you to work on. Create an exercise folder in day 7, right? Copy over CSS and JS folders from last exercise. Okay? Then copy over portfolio. What are we calling it? Portfolio or digital profile, right? Page to this folder. To which folder? To the day 7 folder. Now update this HTML file to include Navbar. Okay? Where will you get the code for Navbar? The one that you just went. The one we did in class.
Able to connect to internet and all. Please don't connect. Let us make a habit. Let us do it. Either you type it manually, or if there is a lengthy code what the teacher wants to access, we are going to share it offline. So we are going to give you the URL where there will be a notepad and you can copy paste it. Okay? Copy paste that particular piece of code.
Copy paste Navbar code is what sir is saying, guys. For all those who did not try Navbar from getbootstrap.com, who did not paste it and check it, for the exercise, if you do not have the code of this particular thing, that nav, right? We will share it as what he's saying. Understood? To get the Navbar, can I get a count please? Were able to get the Navbar? Very good. I see some hands at the last also. Yeah, very good. So you know how to get a Navbar on your computer. Now work on the exercise. The exercise expects you to have the same CSS and JS like you had in the last time, in the last exercise, but it also expects you to have the same Navbar. Okay?
You want to get what the teacher is sharing, you need to go to this particular URL, connect to KMIT URL 10.11.54.188. Okay? And once you enter, you should be in KMIT you will get this. There will be a text file by SIREESHA from next class onwards. You can open that. So this is the code. He will copy and paste. Whatever teacher wants to share you, the code, we call this as whiteboard. And this will be always open so that you can access offline, no need of connecting to online. Right? Please download it, copy this, use it in your app, and check the output.
Bookmark it please. 10.11.54.188. This will be the way I'll be communicating with you. Instead of WhatsApp, I can put the text here itself. So what Shrikant sir suggested is all those who did not try Navbar outside of the exercise, for your ease, he said, let's share the code. Why don't you share the code directly in our network? So in our network, here itself, I share the code. Now let's see if the exercise is open. Tufan. Everybody, you should see an exercise in day 7. There should be a Bootstrap Navbar. I'm starting that. Please log in, refresh, save, submit, execute. You know how to submit, right? Get your IP config. And if you have named it as index.html, it will be the same at that particular IP. Remember to do a go live. If it is not indexed, then you have to put that / in that file name. So guys, copy over the portfolio page, update the HTML file, right? That was your step 1, step 2, step 3, update the HTML file. That is done. Once you are done updating, right, you are in VS Code. Say go live, check, then get IP config, get IP from IP config. Right? Then replace or check the URL with the IP in browser. Right? Now once it is working, open the exercise in what are we calling it? Tufan or tessellator or telescope, whatever exercise.
We are calling it as Tufan.
In Tufan, the screen says Tufan, sir, when they log in? Okay. Open the exercise in Tufan. paste and see if you can paste or type up the link.
Paste is disabled, they have to type up the link.
Okay, type up the link, then we have save, we have submit, evaluate. Done? Good. Some of you friends have already done it. How cool is that? I see who Vishwambhar got 100 looks like, Navneet, Prasanna, Suhas, Manoj, Vignesh, Anagha, Shreya, Charan, Dravya. Go ahead please. This is a good number. 10 got stars. 14. Looks like per second we have increasing number. This is very good.
So your teacher says this can be done in 5 minutes. So please submit within 5 minutes. Just what you have saw. Just you need to have a navigation bar. That's it.
How many of you have submitted? Only so many. Good. 100? Please help the others. Remember, troubleshooting is the best way to learn. Help others and see. Is there anybody facing a problem? What problem are you facing? Please let us know if you are facing any problem. Help your friends, please. The way I look at it, if one person in the row got it working, the whole row should get it working. 33 have stars. So we have 360 people who have logged in. It should be the one that is in the earlier exercise. CSS/that, JS/that. That is what the link stack should say. CSS, link href equal to CSS/ this file name. EPS, in class, day 7, new folder, EX, okay? In this exercise folder, I'll have my CSS folder, where my CSS will be there. In the same exercise folder, I'll have a new folder, JS. Now I'll open this. Look at it carefully. Show more options, open with code. This is how it has to be done. Open the exercise folder. On the left side, you should see only CS.js. And now I go and I say index.html. Now I create that, right? Now here, what should the link tag have? Link, href, right? Close it. Script, src equals close. But what should be here? Not CDN links. This is your exercise. CSS / whatever my bootstrap min.css or whatever. I didn't add it yet. Here it should say JS /. So this is how it should be. Look at the screen, please. Going forward all the time. CSS and JS folders. Inside that you should have your files. Your index.html should be here. You should have link and that. Now here is where my nav code should be. Where is my navbar code? The code that I shared. This one. Control A, C. Here. As simple as that. How we should submit it, sir? They are going one level above VS Code part. Guys, if you are facing a problem, please raise your hand. Will come to you.
Yes, we are waiting at least 150 submissions from your end.
They have to be CSS / and JS /. You need to have the folders. Add the files and check it.
Both are submitting from the same laptop. Please submit from your laptop.
Everybody, make sure you have CSS bootstrap min.css, JS bootstrap bundle.min.js. Make sure you have those. And then you have a nav tag, inside that a navbar tag. All those who got only 50, make sure you have written it as CSS / bootstrap min, JS / bootstrap.bundle.min.js. Make sure you have all that, please.
Yeah, we are not going to start any new topic now. We are going to keep this activity open because I want you to learn, and this will go on till your React. By the way, the concept which is taught to you to be covered in day 4, but today is day 7. So already we are lying behind. And coming sessions, we will only focus on which is important for you. Okay?